Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the League of Inches live show podcast. If you are listening belatedly afterwards, say maybe it's a Monday, you're driving, you're giving us a listen. Thank you very much. If you're watching live, very much appreciate that. As always, get involved with the comments. We want to hear your views. We're going to touch on a lot of controversial things tonight. We're obviously talking New South Wales game 2 team. Talking Parramatta, talking the Broncos, talking the Finns, and anything else you want to talk about in the comments, shoot fire away. We will get to them, I promise, whether it's straight away or I'll star them and we'll get to them towards the back of end of the show. But you've got a new face as well. For those that have tuned into the Talking Para podcast, we'll know this new face. He's not a newbie anymore. He's been on the show now for a while. It's Jake from the Talking Para show. I needed someone and I knew who to go for. He was my main target. I picked him out and I said, Jake, please come on to the big show. Come on to the big time. And he was happy to fill in the boots of Adam. So Adam, you're under a bit of pressure here, mate. You got your understudy. I've got him on the show. Jake, how you doing? How's things?
I'm good. Yeah, no, good. It's cold over here, 7 degrees in Condo at the moment. Actually, funny, in Talking Para podcast last time, I think someone was saying that, Adam's going on a holiday sometime soon and that I'm supposed to be replacing him, or I don't know, something like that. So I don't know what's going on. It feels like I'm getting under pressure here a bit,
Nah, your stocks are rising. That's what's happening, bro. You're on the rise, and everyone's out and about and doing things, and you're just sneaking under the radar, ready to nip at people and take it. Jesse, that sharp do of yours is dead set doing things to me. I'm glad we're not in person right now because I'd probably jump you. How's things?
Oh, yeah, not bad. I had a big day. I'm a bit buggered at the moment. But
We'll lift you.
Yeah, that's right. We do it all for the potties, man. We do it for the Blues. I didn't actually watch a great deal of footy this weekend either. It's been a bit like that last couple of weeks. I feel like I'm sort of dropping away a little, but no, like you just stay as relevant as you can, I suppose. But no, good day.
Tyler, how's things for you, bro? Obviously being a Para fan, we are going to touch on it. Don't get in too deep yet. Let's talk about something a bit more positive first. Were you able to, I don't know, get your weekend back together after last night's performance and enjoy today for what it was?
Oh, look, it's that's football. Unfortunately, you have off days, and every week seems to be an off day for us at the moment. But I really enjoyed this weekend of football, and I'm really keen to talk through some stats.
Yeah. Now, guys, before we get into things, we'll get our player of the round in a minute. Just want to quickly shout out, I'll be away for a couple of days over the next few days. I'll got a few work things on, but don't worry, the page is going to keep going. The videos and such will be going as well. I'm asking everyone to please get behind everyone, support the boys who step in. It'll be just the regulars, just be a bit mixed up, different sort of anchor to lead the way, but I've got full confidence in everyone. We'll keep doing the live shows. The Wednesday show will be there still. The Monday night stuff, the Supercoach stuff will be led by Jesse. Still get behind us, follow us, and the content will probably be better. If it's better, I'll step away, guys. You won't see me ever again. And I'll just be in the background doing some posts and stuff throughout the next couple of days. But don't worry, we'll feed you guys all the content and more that we possibly can. What about our player of the round, guys? I will shoot straight to Jesse. I'll go just around in clockwise now. It'll be easier for me. Who stood out for you?
Oh man, I didn't watch a lot of games this weekend. So for the games I did watch, I'd have to say honestly, Jerome Luai. I think he's just doing really well, honestly. Like there's probably other players this week that played really well in their games. To be fair, I think I only watched 2 or 3, but he's just made that half position his own in a team without Cleary. Obviously, all the pressure with the Blues stuff, controversy around Luai all the time. He's pulled his socks up, man. He's playing some great footy, and really good for the side as well. So I'd have to run with him. I am keen to hear some of the other boys talk because I didn't really get much of a watch in. But yeah, he's in for me, I reckon. So
yeah, good shout there, Jakey boy. You got someone who stands out. Hopefully not a Para player.
No, definitely not a Para player. I don't think they'll get a man of the match for me for a long time. I didn't want to even give one out of the Para players for Tuesday, but anyway. No, mine actually came from a moment in a game that made him the player of the round for me, and that was the hammer. when the Sharks were giving it to them and they had got up to 18-0, 18-0, like, they'd taken over that game and they were winning. And then he just went, you know what, stuff this, runs 100 meters, changes the whole game. That moment that basically forced the Dolphins to pick up their game, that gave him player of the round for me, in my opinion.
We're going to touch on the fins a bit later on, guys. So don't go off early. Get your fins up a little bit later on. But that was one of the best tries I've ever seen. Tyler, who stood out for you?
Jake's kind of stole my thunder here. I was going to go with the hammer. So you're off to a flying start, mate. But yeah, I think he was absolutely phenomenal, especially with the long-range try that he scored. It was just it really does make you enjoy the game of football that we love, and it really does prove why it's one of the best sports on earth.
Yeah,
Except
I agree. Look, yeah, 100%. Adam, I love your question. I'm going to bring it up in a second. Bear with me, please. Stay on the line. Stay on the show watching. For me, I don't know if it was his best game ever. Like, I'm not going to go out and say that. But what I liked from this guy was that the pressure was on. There's a lot of talk coming out about him and getting that Origin jersey. And I just saw against the Broncos, a quality opposition, Latrell Mitchell, he may not have even been the best player on the field, but I just thought with the pressure that was coming, he could have easily lost his absolute shit, especially with that little melee that happened and stuff. But I thought for his standards, he controlled himself quite well, and he actually had some very good moments. And basically for mine made it New South Wales force their hand and say, "Yeah, pick me. I'm ready to go." And I think the Blues probably need him on the field and at his best to have any chance of trying to save this series this year. Andrew, so be picking fights with the Martin brother. Oh, you only picked fights with one, so it's all good. You stay at that one. So before we get stuck into the Blues, quickly, Adam has posted a bit of a question that probably a good one to attack at this time of year. Hey, lads, just wondering what your overall thoughts on the ladder are so far. Do you see many big changes on the rise from now till the end of the season? I need to quickly bring up the ladder because I think that's probably what we're all about to do before we answer this question. I'll say one thing while the boys are getting their ladders up. I won't say anything else there, but the Storm for mine being first is just such a Storm Craig Bellamy thing. Like you don't even every time I look at the ladder, I just think, yeah, the Storm are going okay, and then I look at them and they're first. It's ridiculous how they're doing it. I reckon they're not even close to their best football either, and that's the scary thing that they just keep winning football games. And I've actually at the moment, if I had to pick someone, I've got them as my premiership favourites, knowing that they've got Pappy coming back, Munster coming back. It's really, really scary. If I've to pick someone to come from the clouds, I know he's in the comments there, and he'll probably, who knows what he's going to do with himself, but treat his body like an amusement park. The Warriors, I know they lost on the weekend, and that was a bit disappointing, but I still just think that team and that squad are too good to not be playing finals football. So I anticipate them to be making a little bit of a run. Obviously, South are probably most people's obvious picks at the moment to go on a run. I just think they've left it too late. I think they can win a few and trouble a few teams, but they're coming from a long way back, and they've got to really keep this. The thing with this sort of a side is they've got to keep this run going for so long that once they even if they can get to finals, they're going to be exhausted. It's too much to stay up this far out all the way through to finals. So they're my ones. Jesse, you've got anyone that's standing out for either good or bad reasons?
Well, this week the Broncos dropped out of the 8, and that's massive. You know what I mean? Like you got teams like the Raiders, Manly as well. You know they're still just holding on, but the Bulldogs are just so good defensively. I can't see them dropping. Genuinely, I just think if they just keep doing what they're doing, you know, they're doing the bread and butter stuff really, really well. They'll have to hold it. Like they're doing really good stuff. So there are some surprising teams outside of the 8. You know, the Broncos are out there. I don't think the Cowboys will make their way up. I think they're just going to plod along around 10th. And obviously the Rabbits are on the up, but they're 5 wins behind 8th place. Like I just don't see where they make that up. In the meantime, I think they might get close, but I just don't. I think you're right about they left it a bit too late. If I was going to say anyone's going to swap out, I think the 8's kind of settled itself in, except maybe the Raiders drop and the Broncos find their way back up. And that's sort of where I see it settling. But everyone else in there looks decent. I don't know about the Warriors either. I think they're a good side, but they can lose a game when they need to win. So some surprising teams, though.
Yeah.
Looking at
Jake,
it now.
anyone that's standing out to you?
Yeah, look, you touched on it a second ago, Jesse, but the Raiders without Fogarty, now they surprised me so far this season. I thought as soon as Fogarty was out, that was their season done. But they've shown a lot of fight and grit to kind of keep in games and actually manage to survive. But I don't see that holding out for the rest of the season. I do see them dropping out, and probably the Broncos lifting up from there. If there's any other team in that top 8 to drop out, it probably would be Manly as well, obviously coming 8th. I don't see Bulldogs, Roosters, Dolphins, Sharks, Panthers, or Storm dropping out, but the Sharks are interesting because I do think that they are in a bit of a form issue at the moment, winning only 1 from their last 4. So I don't see them finishing top 4, which I think is interesting. And the only team I'd see probably going up would be the Warriors or the Broncos.
It's funny with the
Cowboys
Sharks
are
is
tricky.
because it's sort of it feels like we've been there and done this before, and that was literally last year. Nico Hines selected in the Blues, had to fill in a position he hasn't played before, and unfortunately they scored a try on him, and you literally just seen at that moment his confidence in him as a person just got absolutely shot, and it's unfortunate to see. You don't want to wish this upon anyone, especially Nico, who is such a great person and generally just a great bloke for rugby league to have there, and we want to see him at his best, but the reliance that the Sharks have on Nico, this is always the danger for them, is that the fact that they rely so much on Nico Hines, where as soon as he dips in form, the whole side dips in form because he's that in control of that outfit. So it's a huge worry. He's a great player to have on their books. Any team would love to have him, but it's like as soon as he hits and dips in that form, that he's just, it's almost at the point now you almost want to have a chat to him. So I know you love New South Wales, but can you give us 1 year where you just give us you and not let this impact, please? Because they were looking like they were flying that far ahead of everyone because they beat a few good oppositions before that game 1 side. And now we've just seen him hit the wall, unfortunately, and the Sharks have done the same. Tyler, have you got anyone that's standing out?
I was just going to say, it sounds like another team that we know very well. But anyway, just sorry.
We'll get there.
There are 2 teams that still I'm not sold on being in the top 8 at the end of the season, and that's Raiders and the Bulldogs. Bulldogs have a very, very tough run of 3 games coming up with the Roosters, Warriors, and Sharks. I see them possibly getting 1 win, maybe a lucky win over the Warriors, just because last game the Warriors didn't impress me at all, really. And I can see the Broncos going back up, and I can also see Warriors going into the 8 for them. But just the way that they've finished seasons in the last kind of 2 or 3 seasons, I don't see them finishing 8 and getting in. I've said it several times now. If they do, they won't make it far into the finals.
Yeah, Para fans, I know you're in there. Bear with us. We are going to get to Parramatta, but first we're going to attack New South Wales for about 20 or so minutes. Bear with us. We will let everyone have their end. If you're going to have a big comment, get it ready or post it, and I'll get it up, let everyone read it as we're talking about him. We are getting there. We're getting there. Blues, boys. I'll quickly read out the side. So fullback Dylan Edwards is back. Touch wood. He controls his training and he can actually play game 2 because I can't wait to see him in this arena. I think he'll really help. And it's going to be a point that I'll make afterwards when we speak about this lineup. He's going to help straighten the attack, which I think is a huge thing for the Blues. The back line, To'o and Zach Lomax, Crichton and Latrell Mitchell comes into the centres. The halves, another change. Jerome Luai partners Mitchell Pearce. Mitchell Moses. Mitchell Pearce is back. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. My bad, guys. Hang on. The props, Jake Voyevich is captain with Payne Haas, Reece Robson, the hooker, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton, and then Cam Murray comes in at lock, which I'm actually a bit of a fan of. I'm not going to lie. No doubt we'll probably have a chat about that one as well. The bench, Connor Watson, Isaiah Yeo, Hamola Olakawatu, and Spencer Leniu. Mitch Barnett, 18th man. That's the last time we'll talk about that name on this podcast tonight. Thanks, guys. Cam McInnes and Luke Keary as well. Now, where do we go from here? Tyler, I'll let you attack this one first. You can go first. Thoughts on the side overall and the changes are made. The changes obviously being Latrell Mitchell, Mitchell Moses, Cam Murray, and Connor Watson on the bench.
I'm really keen. As I said before, the swap out of Dylan Edwards in the first game, I think, really put them off quite a bit. And bringing Teddy back in when he possibly could have been had this mindset of, they've dropped me, whatever. He didn't seem as his best, but I don't think he's been in his best for a few seasons now. But he still did put in a shift in Origin 1, so I can't slate him too much. Latrell Mitchell in for Suoli'i, that's just an obvious one. I don't know how you can get sent off within 10 minutes of your first Origin. That's just poor. But we've spoken about that loads and loads already.
Yeah, move on.
I think...
Let's not go back there.
No. I think Moses coming in is good for the Blues, but I'm not convinced that that 6 and 7 position matches up to the Queensland 6 and 7 position. Whoever they do pick, they seem to have the better halves pairing, just especially on form at the moment. I know Luai is flying with the Panthers, but Moses is dwindling down at the bottom of the ladder. Travojevic as captain again. We didn't really get to see much of him in Origin 1, which is a shame, but that's what happens when you have unexpected things happen. Cam Murray, I think, is a really, really good addition. I quite like Murray and the way he plays. He runs it straight, hard, and also has really good ball playing skills, which is what we need in that 13 spot. Connor Watson is a weird one for me. I don't think he's done enough to get in the Blues squad. I would be having someone like a Burton there, or I know that it was. I don't know whether against Queensland's forward pack we should be having a back on the bench, but it's we will see. And then obviously dropping Cam McInnes. He didn't really impress me in Origin 1 anyway, so that's whatever for me.
Goodness, you shoot from the hip. You don't give a shit,
hard to
Tyler. I
impress.
respect that about you. I respect it about him though. He's a Para fan, so I understand it's very hard to see positive things at the moment in just life in general. I feel like Jesse, I know you love talking about the Blues, so I'm not going to hold you back much longer. I'll let you go. Fire away. What your thoughts are of the team. There is some thoughts. I want to ask you a quick question here because there is already some comments about it. Isaiah Yeo on the bench. Lots of people have noticed so far, and I'm actually, to be honest, starting to lean towards it as well. I don't think he's a bench player. He doesn't provide much impact, and I actually don't think he's done much at Origin level. I think Queensland have worked out Panda's style of attack perfectly. They know how to defend it, and Isaiah doesn't seem to have a second option in his game. It's sort of like he has one way, and Queensland know what he's going to do. Cam Murray, for mine, is head and shoulders above him at Origin level as a player. Do you think Isaiah Yeo is warranted on the bench, or it's a bit of a wasted spot? And then let us know your thoughts as well about the rest of the team.
I'd say it is a wasted spot. We kind of touched on it the other night. When it comes to Cam Murray being fit, he walks into the Blues team, and I'm glad he has, definitely. And at the same token, I said it should mean that Yeo drops out and McInnes sits on the bench for him. But obviously they've done it the other way around, so it could be Barnett. I know Goosey's all about it. The comments are killing me.
I need to stop him.
Yeah, honestly, put him on a leash. With Penrith, Yeo obviously works quite well, and I think it takes him about 70 odd minutes in a game to really continue where he leaves off, sort of thing. But like off the bench, you're right, he doesn't have that impact. He's not going to come out like Lenu out of the gates and do something massive. It's going to take him a good stretch of time to build up to his game, and I just don't think that's right for our bench at all. Defensively solid, obviously, but I don't know. I just feel like there could have been anyone else, to be fair. But as far as the side goes, look, man, I really like it, to be honest with you. I really do. I think obviously Edwards is a first edition. There you go, mate. There's your Barnett shout out. Yeah, I really like Edwards getting picked, so I'm happy that's in there. Obviously, Latrell should have been picked game 1, so that makes the most sense. Hines has been really unlucky in the 2 games he's played to be off the bench as a center and then to be playing against 12 or playing with 12 men. So I still, even at this point, I feel like he hasn't had a good run. But in saying that, he's done nothing with it. So Moses had to be the guy. The rest of the side, I'm happy with. Honestly, I even think Connor Watson's a good addition too. I would like to see Burton get a run, but in the same breath, it's like Watson has done really, really good this year. He is a utility. You can kind of put him anywhere as well. I think he might not even offer, outside of the kicking game, I think he offers more than Burton does. So, you know, I really like it. I think that he's kept the right players. I think he's brought the right players in. There's 1 or 2 here and there that, you know, could have been different, but overall, yeah, I'm a fan.
Jakey boy, I know you're pretty keen to get into some Origin chat. I want to know your thoughts. What are you thinking?
Well, all right. So Dylan Edwards, I loved hearing that he got named for game 1, and I was devastated when I heard that he was out. I mean, don't get me wrong, Teddy's a world-class player, but he just isn't what he has been in the past recently, unfortunately. I love the back line. I really, you know what, actually, if I'm looking at the whole team as an overall, I think it's almost the best team we could possibly put out during, like, with injuries and whatnot going on. I really do. I'm a big fan of it. I think that if you have Luai and Moses in the halves, I think in game 1, I know we had 12 men, so it's, it's a bit of a moot point, but we did miss that kicking game, that long kicking game that DCE has, and they just kept us on the back foot the whole time. But you know what? I think in terms of our halves, what we do have is almost the most competitive halves. Like if you think of Moses and Luai, whether you think of skill or whatnot, you think of competitiveness. Like you think they 2 players that want to compete and want to win, which I'm happy with. Like I like that. They should push each other. I am a fan of everyone else. Let me have a look through. Now the Yo thing I think is interesting. I would, if you were thinking as another bench player, if you would have McInnes in there, does he provide more impact off the bench out of the 2? And I think not. I think he doesn't. I think I've never been impressed by Yo in Origin. I haven't. But what I would love to see is if he just gets told, like, your role is just be a wrecking ball. You've got the size, be a wrecking ball. Please just, don't worry about second phase. Just go out there and just go straight and hard, like what Lenny did for us in game 1. I'd love to see that because I think that he could fill that role really well. I feel like he tries to play like he's at Penrith and play that second phase, but he's too slow at it for Origin level. So I'd rather he'd do a good job if he just played hard and straight football, in my opinion.
I haven't seen that from him for a long time, though.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like he's not getting told to do that, and I don't feel like that's what's being given as his role potentially. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I can't know. I'm not in the camp, obviously, but
it's just he's never played direct. He's always sideways, and he is so slow, man. He's so slow. His creativity is great for Penrith. It works perfectly for Penrith because he can hold it up. Everyone stands off him, and then it's just like, he knows the runners there. He knows Cleary or Edwards or someone else is going to be there.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the Blues, they're both there as well, but I just don't think it translates the same. And I don't think he can't be a Lenu. He'll never be able to have that sort of impact.
No, he won't. Look, no one has the impact off the bench that Lenny does. I think he's the best impact bench in the comp, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Would you say that McInnes provides more impact off the bench?
I think
if you were going to put him off the bench.
Well, it's a different thing, though. Like, if you're going to come off impact, I think defensively, if you're looking for someone to go out there and put their life on the line, I don't think Yo's going to do what McInnes will. Outside of that, I don't think that you're going to be going to your bench to be looking for that creative spark in a lock forward if you've got Cam Murray there.
I hate to say this, reasonable. But I feel like Barnett's an actual benefit on the bench than Yo. And I hate to say, because I know what we're going to get. We're about to get a barrage of comments from we know who, the world famous Goosey. But I don't know, because I feel, I'll say now, very controversially, I don't really rate Connor Watson. I don't know what a lot of people out there see it in him. I don't know if he's a special kind of player. Like I would have Matt Burton there every day of the week. Matt Burton covers the backline issues that we've had. I still look at this side and think if we lose a backline player, what's happening here? Because Connor Watson's now moved into a more of a middle sort of forward role, and he'll play the hooker role. But we got done with it in game one, and we haven't fixed it again. Like for mine, I don't know what Matt Burton's done. Last time he played in the jersey, he almost took on half the Queensland team because everyone else just stood back, and he had the passion for it. He's literally seems like he gets Origin. If he was a Queenslander, he'd be one of the first chosen every single time. We just continue to find ways to not pick the guy. And I'm like you, Jesse. I want to get behind this team because there is some positives in the team, but there's also then some things where I look back and I'm like, are these selectors actually watching these games? Are they seeing what's actually happening? And the fact that Billy Slater's just putting egg on our faces every single game, it feels like at the moment with his selections, and he gets the best players and he just picks them. I look at the competition right now. I would personally go out and say Matt Burton's been the top 5 players of this competition this year. And we're still not picking him. Like we're not finding a way to pick these players where Slater sees Cobbo, who's been quite good for the Broncos this year. And he goes, I just need to have him in my team. I don't know how this is going to work out. Hopefully something happens and the cards work perfectly, which they did luckily for him. And he just picks these players where like Watson for mine has never stood out in NRL. He's okay. He's an okay player. Is he only picked because he can play multiple positions apparently? I'd argue Burton can actually play more positions when you look at it.
Well, I would say what Watson does bring to a team that Burton possibly doesn't off the bench is energy. Like when you see him come off the bench for the Roosters, I think he does bring energy. He's everywhere. You see him everywhere, all over the park. That's something that he does bring. And if you want that injection of spark, maybe he doesn't provide possibly as much, size, and he hasn't got that kick that Burton does. But he does have that. I will be everywhere that you need me to be. I will literally I think he would be the player who would put his body on the line. He does seem like that type of player. I personally would prefer Burton in there too. I'm not going to deny that, but I think he would put his body on the line. But he does provide a lot of spark in that team for sure.
Yeah, I think Brendan makes a good point as well. Madge says he wants to pick on form, and then he's not sort of picking on form in a way. Like there's players who, for mine, feel like they're in better form, and he's not picking them. I don't know. I want to get in. I want to back the boys. I do. I really want to back the boys, and I want to see us go to Queensland at least with some sort of fight in us to show us fans need it. We need a bit of faith to go. We can go there and take him on. I won't back it. I hope Watson comes on and shows us why he's been picked. He was apparently going to be picked game one if he was fit. That he was pretty much a guaranteed selection, which I thought came from the clouds because no one really spoke about him beforehand. So. Madge, who knows? Let's put some faith in him, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. No. I just feel like again the Yo side of it just doesn't feel like he's a bench player, and we don't get anything from him. Like look at Spencer, how he comes on and played in game one. That's sort of what we need. And I feel like Mitch Barnett can at least cover middle forward if we need, or edge forward if we need. Like he can actually do both. And while you've got Cam Murray there, Cam Murray can play 80 minutes, 100%. I would not be getting Cam Murray off the field unless he was literally like had a boot in his head and couldn't move. Like he's just one of those players. He'll just keep going for us, and that's what you want. Shut up, Goose. Yeah.
So I think Watson can cover these though.
Would you possibly start? Would you prefer? I think I'd almost prefer Ola Kawadu to start over Liam Martin as something we haven't talked about. But I think Liam Martin as an injection off the bench would be a lot better than Ola Kawadu off the bench.
I didn't get to watch today's game. I think Tyler did, but apparently from reports I've heard and been told, Ola Kawadu actually played quite well.
Yes, he did. He did play. I think this was probably one of his better games this year. But yeah, his Manly carved him up either way. So I think anyone would have done all right in that position.
Did you boys watch the game today, or any thoughts on Ola Kawadu perhaps starting?
I actually didn't watch the game, but he got over a century in Supercoach, so there's that.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that game. I think he benefited. I think the other team went down. I think they were down at 12, and he capitalized on it a bit too. So there was a bit of that. But he's a wrecking ball, man. I think he should start every game.
118.
Obviously, sorry.
Sorry, he got 118 on Supercoach.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
start Jesse on Supercoach, please, Jake. He
Animal.
won't stop. Don't start him.
Animal. That's all right. We'll save
We
it
need
for
to
another
get
day. I think, when it comes to off the bench, you do need that sort of different mentality to it, and I think Liam Martin's got it. I think Connor Watson's definitely got it. I don't think Yo does, but I think obviously Spencer Leniu is the pinnacle of off the bench sort of aggression. So it makes sense. It really does. I think you can really make the most out of Liam Martin too if you give him 30 minutes, even put him through the middle if you have to. I think you might have a bit more versatility outside of that, maybe more than Ola Kawatu would off the bench. But either way, they're both solid forwards. So just want to, I'd probably have him starting though, Ola Kawatu.
Hang on. Hang on, Andrew. Don't ever insult Jesse ever again. He's levels above Guru, so he's the Guru. Don't worry about that. The way I keep thinking about them more and more, I feel like if we just swapped on the bench at the moment, Isaiah Yeo and Burton, I feel like the bench looks a lot better because, as you said, sort of kind of Watson can play those middle forward roles and come on and play a lock if we needed to, things like that. So at least then we've got some backline moves as well to make if we need to. I just feel like at that level, especially down in Melbourne, it's going to be slippery. It's not going to be great. Imagine trying to catch Burton bombs. It scares me, and I'm not even involved with it. Like, it would be petrifying. I know Moses has a decent kicking game. I know he does, but he doesn't have a Burton bomb.
No one's got a Burton bomb, but that's why it's called a Burton bomb.
It's crazy, but we could go on about this the whole time, but we'll move on. Para fans, start to get whatever you need to get off your chest. Just let's have about a 10-minute period where we can just have a little session together. Just a bit of kumbaya at the end of things, and hopefully make ourselves feel a little bit better. I'm going to go to the guy who's happy as Larry at the moment because it was his team that actually beat us, and that's Jesse. Well done on the win last night, brother. As us Para fans are thinking, a lot needs to change, but you've beaten us. Well done. You beat what was in front of you. Got the job done. When 15 minutes out, you're probably a little bit worried. Me, I always thought you'd win, but that's the level of confidence I've got in my team at the moment, unfortunately. What were your thoughts on the game? And then lead us into maybe what you thought of Parramatta as an opposition. You're obviously watching that as you with your Roosters hat on.
I haven't seen. I don't know if I can say I've seen no improvement from Parramatta, but it's definitely not the Parramatta of anywhere where you want them to be. So I think the Roosters look good. I think Angus Crichton is insane. I think he's just so far levels above any second rower in the game at the moment. And it was just so left heavy. As soon as Watson was there, just belting him every single time. Between Watson and Crichton, they just made the Eels look like kids. So it was great to see it. Obviously, it kept the other side pretty quiet. Talking about Supercoach captaining Manu, just watching everything go left made me want to cry a little bit. But I think the Roosters gone.
You and Jake here together there.
Yeah, it sucks. It hurts so bad amongst all the other shit that we had to deal with. But I thought that on the field, Watson was the best player in the game. From what he came up with. Obviously, Tedesco was good and the rest of it. But look, there's so many avenues for that side at the moment that look good, and it's a good time supporting the Roosters. I'm sorry to say for any of you Eels boys, but it just hasn't really been there, and I don't know what to say for him. I've seen now that Dylan Brown kind of wants out. The writing's kind of on the wall there, really, but they're going to be in very, very bad way without him if that happens to be the case.
His dad left.
Sorry?
Daddy Arthur left him, so now he wants to leave.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's probably true. Jason, a part of the show as well, whispers that old boys and old school para powers are gathering to get 2 board members at PLC to intervene at the Eels. PLC owns the Eels and gets to allocate 2 board members to the Eels board. And there's a lot of things happening. I'm hearing so many whispers around. There's more and more people messaging the page, messaging myself about things and telling me and informing me, and talking to a lot of the past players, and obviously with the history at the club from my family's point of view. And they use the program now as possibly a way of getting their messages across, and welcome anyone to talk to me about Parramatta whenever you want, even if you're on a phone call, whatever. But there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes at the moment. And I know, and we're going to hear from Tyler and Jake in a second, mad para fans themselves, that the frustration levels are, I feel like, the highest they've ever been at this club since I can remember. And I'm 33 years old now and been told about other things from basically day dot from when Pa was there, then Dad was around, and watching all the great moments in the 80s and stuff. Like, it feels like things are about to bubble off. And I don't know if the club will watch this, ever will, but I want to warn them that it doesn't feel great at the moment. Like, I'm actually worried in a way about what's going to happen in the months to come, because fans have had enough. It's fair to say that. And there's going to be some fierce, angry people around. Jake, I'll go to you first. You're the guest on the show, so I'll leave Tyler. He gets angry with his. I'll let him just stew up a bit more. I love when he just gets to this point. Jakey boy, talk to us. This is where you come into your environment. Let us know your thoughts.
Oh, you know what? You know what the worst thing about being a Parramatta fan is, if I'm going to be completely honest, is that they somehow always find a way to give you that little flicker of hope, that just enough to make you want to believe in them again. And then they extinguish it on you again and again and again. And that's the part that's kind of just making me real flat at the moment. Like, I went into last night, even just in the span of 80 minutes, I went into last night going, you know, we've already lost the game. I'm not going to care too much about it. You know, if like whatever happens. And then we were down 18-0 and I've gone, yep, that's, you know, it's to be expected. We're just playing like I expected us to play. And then we put out 15 minutes of football. We played football for 15 minutes of that game. And but they gave us hope, and I was like, "Oh my god, we can win this game. This is it. This is, you know, like, you start to think, oh, this is great. This is where it all starts, and all that sort of stuff." And then we just put it away, and I don't know why. We were playing football. We were passing the ball around where there was space. Like, we had the game really in the bag. If we just kept playing the exact same way that we were. And I just don't get it. Where does it go? Like, why do they just put the football away and just stop playing? And it's not even just that. Obviously, there's so much more, and it's just repeated sort of feeling about that. Just like, you know, as an Eels fan, this is what happens. You have that cycle of disappointment. You get your hopes up. You really get your hopes up, then they get crushed again. It just keeps happening, and happened again last night. I'm flat about it, to be honest with you. I didn't watch any of the footy today because of last night's game, and I just was off footy today. I just went, I don't want to watch anything. I turned off the footy. You know, it was like, I think 3 or 4 minutes to go, and I was real quiet. Just turned off the TV and just went to bed. I was just quiet, mad. Obviously,
I was with you in a way today because I had a mate come over that I haven't caught up with for quite some time. Back in the Sydney, and I've realised he's just moved up, so I had a bit of a catch up. Got to meet the missus and stuff, and the little family introduction and things like that. And normally I'd go off and I'll say, let's go watch the footy and stuff because I want to watch it for the page and stuff, obviously. I had a moment today where I go, you know what? I'm actually enjoying just chilling out. I had a couple of CCs with him and stuff. I had a Barbie, a Narvo Barbie, and just loved it. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to have a moment to just relax, enjoy time at the moment with people that are making me happy. Unfortunately, my club isn't at the moment, and it just wore off onto me. And I feel pretty refreshed from it. I know it sucks at the moment how we're feeling. As people are saying, the coaching stuff, I want to quickly touch on before I throw to Tyler, is it's absolutely a shambles. It is a joke, the fact that we've sacked our coach now. This is week 5 we're entering into, and people will probably see in the video I uploaded this morning, a lot of emotion behind it. Just needed to get some stuff off my chest. But we're entering week 5. Any other club that this was happening to, if we weren't Para fans, we'd be bagging the shit out of them, going, this is embarrassing. What a joke. Now look at it. This is now us. We are supposed to be one of the powerhouse clubs in the NRL, and we still are no closer. We're hearing now, I've heard some rumors that they've done their first round of interviews. Now they're going into a second round of interviews, and they've narrowed the field down to about 5 now. So who knows how many people they interviewed the first time, but now there's about 5 people who they're happy to talk to another time. Like, honestly, guys, if you've just sacked Brad Arthur, who, look, I'll admit, I thought he needed to go as well. I thought the place got stale. Surely you've got someone in mind who you go, he's our coach, and you're just focusing on him, and that's who you go for. Like, the names that I'm hearing, they're in the race at the moment. Barrett, no thank you. He's not the head coach for Parramatta moving forward. Jason Demetrio, no thank you. Like, seriously, the names that are starting to be linked to this club, is embarrassing. As a supporter, it's embarrassing.
Can I? When we were like did the mid-season sacking of Arthur, and we were like all this, we were trying to sign Bennett and things along those lines. The thing that I don't understand is he was never going to be coming this year. He was, even if we signed him, he was always going to be coming next year. So tell me why we had to mid-season sack Brad Arthur. Like, we could have said, you are done at the end of this year. Just give him the year. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Why are we kicking him? Like, I did agree that he needed to go, but that instantaneous bye-bye, you're done, wasn't it. It needed to be end of the year. Like, you have until the end of this year so that we have time to then get a coach and start doing this interview process during the year. This is what it should have been happening while we still had a proper head coach, not Barrett, because he doesn't count. Old 30% win rate or whatever it is. That's what should have happened. I just don't understand how can it be such a big fumble? Like, and then you go out and we've talked about this on the other podcast, and then you go out and say like, oh, we were chasing not Barrett, we were chasing Bennett, but we didn't get our man. Why are you telling people that? Like, why are you going out of your way to say we failed, we messed up? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And the truth of that is Wayne Bennett actually went to the club in January and said, I'm free obviously next year. Are you interested in chatting? And they turned him down and said no. So don't come at us with the jibble and try and spin things. You literally said no to him in January, and now you're trying to cover your asses. This is why I'm saying that the board and stuff need to pack their bags and go, because I'm sick of the club just spinning to the fans. And I feel sorry for a lot of the fans because I'm lucky. I've seen both sides of it, and I'm now coming out the other end, and I've been around boardrooms and stuff enough in my life to know what the bullshit is and what it's not. But there's unfortunately people who will believe it because it's their club. That's who they love, and that's what they want to make sure that they think that their club will not lie to them. Sorry to say, but the club will lie to you and have done so several times in the last short period of time. Tyler, before we go too much more into it, I'll let you get what you need to get off your chest. What are your thoughts around Parramatta? And guys, get ready because who knows where this goes.
See the steam coming.
It's hard to get revved up at the moment. It's just a sin bin within 3 minutes. Like, I haven't played football for years. I'm a fat bastard, and I know that you do not get sin binned within 3 minutes. What was Tulangi thinking? What went through his head that you tip a player like that? You never, ever, ever do that. And we now are in a position where we sit, 10 points differential off the bottom. We were competing for a premiership 2 years ago. And I said it when it happened. We are celebrating this like we celebrated the 09, getting to the grand final. And it took us how many years to get back there? And we just, we celebrated as a win. Are we going to have to wait another 10 plus years to get back to a final again? Is that what this club's happy with?
Probably.
Like, is this what this board is going to continue to do? Obviously, because now we're looking at signing, as you said, Joel, someone like Jason Demetrio, who's just been sacked from Rabbitohs because he's had a shit year. And, there's even rumours about Trent taking over with 30-something% win rate. How dare you? How dare you ever suggest that is good enough for our club when we were in a premiership 2 years ago? I don't understand what goes through their head except for dollar signs. And look, before I came onto the page, I wasn't too big into the politics and whatever else. But now that I've seen a lot of stuff that's going on in the back end of it, it's ridiculous. I don't understand how a club can be run like that and still make money and still get, 20,000 attendance to a home game against the Roosters, who were obviously going to, steamroll us. If Dom Young was in there, he would have absolutely steamrolled us as well. I said this from the start. Simonson getting injured was one of the worst things that could have ever happened to us. He was the only one who looks like he gave a shit in that team. And that wasn't to say that Blaze wasn't going to come in and do a good job. I believe in Blaze. I think he's the future of this club. But at the moment, I'm honestly at the point where I hope Blaze leaves the club and Lomax backflips. because I don't want to see good players like that come to a club like this if we're going to continue with mediocrity. It is an absolute joke, and they should seriously take a good look in the mirror and be fucking ashamed, because it is not good enough.
I want to bring this comment back up, Trav, and I just want to touch on this, why this is important that it gets done pretty much ASAP. It's got to the point now. We're in a market where who your coach is plays a huge and vital role in who you can re-sign, sign, extend, basically just recruitment and retention in general. You don't have a head coach, you're basically non-existent in the player market. You don't exist. There is no player that's going to come to your club. Parramatta need a huge rebuild at the moment with this team. It's stale. There is still good players on paper, but they're done. They need to change. They'll probably turn into good players again next year when they got time to refresh. The whole place is stale and needs a huge rebuild, in my opinion. The other thing is, in this game we play, we've already seen 2 head coaches sacked so far. No one's mucking around in this day and age. I guarantee you, if someone starts playing poorly, like say the Knights or let's say the Cowboys go on a bad run, I've got no doubt their coaches will come under pressure. And if they sack their coaches, they then go and move quickly on, say, like a Riles, or they move quickly on a Henne, and they get the next best options. And then Parramatta, because they've operated like sloths, they get the next best option. We end up with a Barrett. We end up with JD. Like, that's what we don't want to end up with. So that's why it's so important and vital to get this done pretty much ASAP now. It's 5 weeks after you've sacked a coach mid-season. So you should, I've never seen a business sack someone and not have a plan in place to go, this is how we're going to replace this guy and how we're going to fix it. They've only put Barrett in there because it helps him and he's a yes man to the board and has done what they've said. Because the way I've seen it, nothing's really changed in the squad. We keep getting Lussick every week. We keep getting Lane every week. Lane got promoted to start on the weekend. But we're not seeing much difference. We're getting a 5'8" / halfback playing in the centres. Like, the depth is ridiculous at the moment. There's a lot happening at this club which just does not make sense. And
what else can you
I
do
don't know where
in that position. Like with Barrett's position at the moment, what has he got to work with? Like, I know he's not a very good coach in general. His percentage is shocking, but at the same time, it's like, I think if you put anyone in that position, barring the elites, which you're not going to get, like your Bellamy's and, Bennett and all these other guys, they're going to lose games too. Like, I look at that side sometimes and I can't see a win. And then you look at the players individually and you think, you know what, they're good. They are good. But, when you've got RC playing there because, Simonson's out, you got Blaze on the wing now because Gutherson's back. It's like, you got some good stocks, but there's not enough. Who's the next best player that you're not playing? Harper. It's like, okay, if you were in the hot seat, where would you be going? Like, admittedly, I wouldn't have put Cartwright on the bench for Sean Lane. I think he's probably been the best. I said it a few weeks ago that Kelma Talagi's a liability. I almost changed my mind with the last 2 games that he played quite well. Obviously, I wasn't wrong there. So
he did what he did.
and he did what he did, and I was like, okay, there's the liability that I spoke about a month ago. So like, I can't see any improvement. Like, I don't like you sack your manager, right? Fair enough. Your coach is gone. You don't have a plan to replace him. Maybe it takes all season to find someone. Hopefully, Lomax doesn't have a clause to boot himself out if he doesn't know who he's going to be playing.
Apparently, he doesn't. I feel sorry for him. I wish he did.
Yeah,
I wish he did at the moment for his sake.
100% for his sake. He's probably going to suck because he's in his best form. He could have ended up anywhere after the year that he's had. But yeah, I don't know. Like, what's Justin Holbrook doing these days? You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be.
His name's been thrown up. His name's been thrown up, but I don't want him around personally.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, they're the players, they're the coaches that you have to be contending with at the moment because there's no one left. Like, there really isn't, unless you're giving someone a go.
Well, that's what we've been talking about it in the other podcast. But I'd be happy with like your Jason Riles or Josh Hannay personally, like coming in, like giving him a crack. But we like Joel said it before, and we just don't want someone that's just going to suck up to the board and do what they want. We want like someone who is going to come in with their own opinions, and it's hard to know whether someone who is an assistant coming in as a head coach will do that.
Well, maybe they should have done it, given him to him this year. Like, if they had a future plan long term for someone, making the interim now, give him a run, give him another 3-4 months to get their stuff together. If it's impressive, give him the full-time job. If not, you've had this whole season to find the coach anyway. So That's what I mean. Like, it's just you plug this guy in now with no future plan. Like, obviously, if you end up signing Trent Barrett for the long term, people are going to riot. They may as well have kept Brad Arthur at that point. I think if we're in a
Pretty
worse
much.
position doing that than they would have if they kept Brad in the first place. So it's like I don't know. I'd hate to be in that
And
position.
that's the thing. Apparently, we don't even have a top 30 man. We've got 27 from what I've read, or maybe 28. We've still got a number of places to fill, and June 30 is quickly approaching. We don't really, as I said, no coach at the moment. No one's going to come mid-season and say, "Oh, let's go to Para. It's a really cool destination. That's going to benefit my footy moving forward." And to answer the coaching question, I know you asked me, George. The candidates that are left, I'd probably say Josh Henne is now my preferred candidate. I really have been impressed from what I've heard from multiple sources about what he's like, especially in the Queensland camp, and he seems to have quite a. He's improving every week at the moment, and looks like he definitely needs a shot. But I don't think he has the pull power to tell board members to basically shut up and leave decisions to him. That's why I would probably wait till Origin's over and just go all in on Madge. And I'll just say, Madge, you know what? Come over. I know Madge won't take shit. He's a tough bastard, and he will just tell them straight to their face, go, leave this footy club to me and go do what you got to do. Go sign some pokey contracts or something and leave me to do what I got to do. Even better, pack your bags and head out. And that's what I think we need at the club. That was why I thought Wayne Bennett was going to be perfect, because I know for a fact the board would be scared shitless of Wayne. And I think Madge holds the same sort of power to a certain degree, and people wouldn't question him. They'd go, all right, Madge is doing what he's got to do. And if they didn't, he'd probably just drop a whole heap of F-bombs on him like he did with the Tales of Tiger Town that we got to watch, and they'd take a step back then. But that would be who I'd go for. I'd love to talk more and more about Parramatta guys. I know there's so many people that want to. No, I don't want Checker. I don't want to go on with that. Troy was anyway. Well, by the way, guys, let's have a quick shout out to Troy. If you haven't, Paracave podcast, he put out some videos last night. He was wasted. He had that many under his belt. It wasn't funny. Go and have a watch. It was quite funny. And guess, just add on the video how many beers you reckon he had last night, because I reckon it would have been upwards of 20 or something. He was telling us his life story at one stage. I want to talk about the Broncos, guys. We've seen them have a pretty bad loss on the weekend to the Bunnies, who have started to hit some form. They had Cody Walker firing. They had Latrell, Damien Cook wound back the clock and put his price tag up a little bit for the Dragons. That was good to see. What are our thoughts on the Broncos? Is anyone here going to actually put the red pen through the Bronx? Do they think they're done for this year, or are they going to give them a chance and say Walsh, Reynolds back, completely different football side? Hand up if you're saying off. Hand up if you're saying they're done for the year. I'm going to say it. That's it. Let's do some content. I'm going to say they're done. I actually had some question marks about the Broncos at the start of the year. I thought they'd be up mid top 8 sort of team. I just didn't think they'd be able to go back to back. I thought they lost some quality players that did a lot for them last year, and they were going to struggle, especially if they lost one or two of these good players for extended periods of time, which we have seen. I think there's better teams than them at the moment in this competition. I don't think they can beat the Storm. I don't think they can beat Penrith. And I don't think they can beat the Roosters when it matters either. So I just, for that reason, I will put the red pen through them. I don't think they can win the competition. Jesse, you got him the red pen out, or are you giving him a chance?
The pen's out. I just haven't put the line through yet. I said a long while ago too that like losing Herbie and Capewell were going to be bigger losses than they expected. Obviously compounding that, they lost Haas for a bit. They've lost Reynolds for a long while in a few stints now, and Walsh at the same time. So like they have lost all of their big outlets, and anyone that sort of gave them a bit of spark and attack, like they're gone at the moment. There's not really much left for him. Ezra Mann's kind of doing his thing as much as he can, but he's not enough. And they're just, without their defense, they've got no attack, and you can see them. They're just sort of lost puppies at the moment. To be fair, like the Rabbits probably would have beaten almost every team this week too. Like they did look bloody good. But I like to think that obviously a team that's just come off a grand final would have a bit more in the tank coming into the second year, but they just don't seem to.
Are you getting the pen ready? Andrew the pen's
definitely ready. The pen is ready. The cap is off. The pen's in my hand. It's just I'm waiting for it. But that's the thing. Like, you put Walsh and Reynolds back in that side, and I think they win games again. So when they do come back, as long as they can get themselves back into 8 before finals time comes around, I think they might give themselves a bit of a run. Probably just do it the hard way. But if they continue to lose a few games between now and then, I think they're really going to have a hard time, even when the other boys come back into the side. So almost out.
Tyler, you'd like to really be up there with your opinions, but you look like you weren't on board with this one. Just quickly, Marty. So the Talking Para podcast, they've heard some stuff, or apparently something's been spoken to someone and told that Brown apparently from multiple sources has started to whispers come out, and it was posted on the Talking Para podcast page. So check them out, and you'll be able to see it there and read all the comments. There's stuff being said about it all today. So let us know, Tyler. What are your thoughts, though? You look like you might be giving the Broncos a chance. The positivity's come.
I am going to give the Broncos a bit of a chance. They were grand finals last year, and they've missed Walsh for a fair few games. They've also missed Reynolds for a fair few games as well. They went through the Haas period where they didn't have him, and Carrigan's only really starting to come back into his own now. I don't know what happened at the start of the season, but he just didn't look like he was, there. I don't know what that was about, but that happens, I guess. But I think they're still in with a good shout. I think possibly they may be lacking in a bit of depth as well. Obviously, having Corey Oates as a winger replacement baffles me at whatever age he is now, and how many rumours have been swirling in the past few years of him leaving for Super League and yada yada yada. But that happens. But and as I said before, the two centres haven't really impressed me this season. They're hard runners, but they're nowhere as good as they were last year. So it looks like he's very out of depth. Unfortunately for the young bloke, because he is a spark of hope. He just needs more game time and more, be able to hold the ball. Pretty much is his issue at the moment. He just seems like he has, trampoline hands, and I don't know what the go is there.
I'll tell you what,
But,
for someone who said they're a chance, you haven't given them much of a chance so far with what you've said.
I'm getting
like
there.
You've written them off.
I'm long-winded, but Mam has been really good this season. I think Madden has been a decent replacement for Reynolds. There's obviously no Reynolds, but that happens. I think Piakura, this is probably one of his better seasons so far yet. And then obviously you have Xavier Willis and Tyson Smoothie and Cody Everything as well that are playing semi-decent. I think they go on a late run and they get back into that top 8. Don't know whether they get as far as they were last year. I don't know whether they can keep up with someone like Roosters, Finns, Panthers, Storm, but I guess time will tell.
Tell you what, we're about to talk about the Finns quickly, but wouldn't that be something that just I would love to see in the finals then versus the Finns versus Bronx or something, knockout elimination final. First week, Suncorp packed. I would be there for that. That'd be sensational. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts on the Bronx? You got that pen out, you're getting it ready, licking the top of it, letting the ink get wet, or you're on board still?
Broncos will make the 8. Broncos will make the 8. Now, if you're talking about premiership chances, Adam Reynolds come back late in the year with a full-strength side. They are still a chance, I believe, that there's still a chance. If we're talking about to making the top 8, they're obviously coming in 9th right now. Next round, they have a bye, and then it goes. They're versing the Warriors, which is a winnable. They're versing the Warriors, which is a winnable game for them. Obviously, with some
over there or Suncorp?
No, it is in Auckland.
Goose is going to come for you, man.
I still believe that they can get them there. It's a winnable game. I don't know about that one. That was like 50-50. And then they have got the Panthers. Now, this is all during Origin period. So I think once you get out of Origin period, this is where they really will come into it. So the round after that, they got the Dragons, definitely winnable. Then they have the Knights, very winnable. Then they have the Bulldogs, which will be a tougher matchup. But then they have Titans, definitely winnable. They've got, where are we? Cowboys, very winnable. They tend to play better against the Cowboys as well. Then they have the Raiders. Oh no, they don't. Then they have a bye. So then there's another 2 points.
Are you reading this in Chinese? You're struggling
Yeah.
here.
Right to left.
Sorry. Then they've got us, and we all know how we're freaking going at the moment. So
Oh, they'll win that by 50.
Yeah, they'll win that by at least 100. Then they're versing the Dolphins, which will be a tougher matchup, and then the Storm. So obviously their last 2 games in particular will be tougher, but they're not unwinnable. Like with the team that they have, and especially in those back 2, I think they do have Reynolds back, and they'll have their full side. They'll be at the end of it, kind of thing. I think that if they can win those games that they should win, they'll be sweet to make the 8. Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't. They still have 2 buys coming up. That's 4 points coming in that. Then they have like us in that, Knights in there, Titans. Like they've got very winnable games. They can make the 8 for sure. That's not out of the question. Winning the comp, they haven't lost that many players out of their team from last year. And I know they didn't win it last year, but making the grand final is definitely not something they can't do. I definitely think they could do it. I've not got the red pen out. They are making the 8. I will call that right now. I put money on it.
They lost to the Titans. That was a winnable game.
They did lose, so that was a winnable. They've lost a couple of games that they should have won so far this year, which is a bit concerning. I'm not saying they won't make the 8. I'm not writing them off. I'm writing them off to be a premiership contender. I just don't think they'll win it.
I don't think anyone can beat the Panthers.
Well, there's that. Someone in the Adam in the he's give me shit. He asked earlier in the chat, are the Panthers a chance of a four-peat? He said they're firming for it, and yeah, of course they've barely lost it. They've barely lost anyone, and they're still playing just as good as they have the last 3 years.
They've lost Nathan Cleary. And it's like they haven't lost anyone at all.
No, that's ridiculous. Once he's back and they have their full strength side after Origin, they're just going to do it again. There's no point.
And the scary thing with them, if you're going to sit there and not think they're going to be driven by the fact that James Fisher-Harris leaves them at the end of the year, you're kidding yourself. He would be the most inspirational player at that group. And out of everyone they've lost over the last 3 years, that will be the one that impacts them the most. I'll happily right now say that they won't win the comp next year. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm back. I'll say right now, I don't think they'll win the comp next year, but he will drive them. He will drive them a lot this year to that squad to make sure that they do that 4-peat at the moment. I'm very concerned with Penrith and the fact that they could look like they could win this competition again. Last one, another Brisbane team. They probably hate me. Brisbane, Redcliffe, wherever you want to name them. That's where they are. The Dolphins, the old fins up. We can put them up now. Hammer, fantastic. They went to Sydney, which they lost their last 3 encounters there. Majority of those, I don't even think they were in the contest for most of those games, but they came out all guns blazing. A bit concerning the way they let the Sharks back into that game, but they were able to come back from it, which was for mine a good thing to see, that we're able to wrestle back some momentum and actually win that game. Probably the Dolphins last year would have just lost it and gone, too hard basket, we're not going to fight for this win. They've done so. They're in the top 4. They're looking good. Boys, are they a top 4 side, do you think? And can they put an indent in this competition? Tyler, you can take us off first. Let's see where you go with this. Maybe a bit quicker than your Broncos rant.
I quite enjoy watching the Finns this year. I also enjoyed watching them last year. This is the first franchise that I've been around to see come in from the start, just because I am quite young. But I'm enjoying the way they're playing at the moment. The signings they've made have been really, really smart. Hammer couldn't get a look in at the Cowboys at the end, and he's become one of the best fullbacks in the competition. So that was really smart recruitment, as well as Farnworth. Capewell hasn't been 100% this year, but that happens with injuries and so on and so forth. But the way they're playing at the moment, I can't rule them out of a top 4 team, and I can't rule them out of the fight either. They've done really well for I think a lot of people are forgetting this is their second season in the competition as an NRL franchise, and I think they're doing really well, and I'm really, really keen to see what they bring.
Yep. Jakey boy, you're liking what you're seeing from the Dolphins. Can they keep it up, or you got some concerns?
Can I just say any team that Felice Kafusi plays for are instantly my least favorite team in the comp. I hate him, so I hate them. So I hope they aren't a top 4 team. I hope that they come last, which is impossible now. But look, if you look at their team, it's interesting because if you look at their backs, they've obviously got a very strong back line. Bostock was his debut this year. Like, is he fresh starting this year?
He played a couple games at the end of last year.
Yeah,
pretty
But
much
nothing
his
major.
first full
This is
year.
pretty much, it's pretty much it.
Realistically though, he's in great form, and you obviously knew what Jermaine Azaka could do when he played for the Broncos. He got that that year top try scorer, and we know that he can kick goals. He had that real good year. He played a little bit off for the end of the few years at Broncos, but he seems to have found that form. Averillo and I always rated Averillo as a center. They tried to play him in like in the halves of the Bulldogs and stuff, and I don't know what they were doing at the time. That was when they were doing crap anyway.
They didn't know what they were doing at that time.
Well, yeah, that's it. And Herbie's world class. I rate Herbie. Cody Nikorima is a player who I never thought would be anything more than like bench, like not bench warmer or like more like support, like a Reggie player that comes up and helps out every now and then. But he's in great form. He really is. He's in great nick at the moment. But what I was going to say is interesting is their their forward pack is relatively small. If you really look at it, like you got Kenny Bromwich is pretty big, and obviously off the bench you got like Josh Kerr's massive, but then you've got like Max Plath isn't all that big. Ewan Aitken's not all that big. I don't know much about Canelli Lamuelu, never heard of him. Felice Kafusi isn't all that big.
He's a cool player.
Mark Nichols is pretty big, but then you got Ray Stone and Kurt Donahue. None of them are massive players. They're a mobile, smaller pack, which seems to fit in well with this current like system, like with the way that the game is going at the moment. So you can't rule them out of a top 4 side. Like just with the style of pack that they have, and I think that they're playing mobile, and it works to their fullback, like it works to the Hammers system, like the way he likes to run it, and they're fast outside backs and that. So I think it's not impossible. I don't think they win the comp, but I think it's not impossible for a top 4 finish. I hope they don't win the comp.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing it. What a fairy tale that would be. Jesse, you got the final say here on the Finns and on the episode. What do you got?
Oh, big one. Look, man, I really like the Finns. For a Queensland side, I love the Finns. Hey, I love seeing them. It's a team of rejects at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them just off contract. They went there, not rejects as in they're shit and they got punted, but they weren't worth keeping for the club they come from in a sense.
Misfits.
So yeah. And you talk about like the size of the forward pack being quite small. Look at the Bulldogs, man. Like they've got a small pack. They got no props really, no one of size. They got a full bench of utilities. They got nothing, but defensively insane. Really, really good. They play for each other. And that's a big thing with the Finns. Like you can tell the culture there is amazing. Joel, you talk about how the Panthers lift for Fisher Harris's end. Imagine what the Dolphins will be doing to see Wayne Bennett out. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a while before the Finns are going to find themselves in a position like this again. Like I don't know if I can call them a top 4 side, but realistically at the moment I've got the Panthers, the Storm, and the Roosters top 3. I don't even have I don't have a 4th outside of the Sharks, who are neither like here or there when it comes to form. At the moment they're on the down. The Dolphins can do everything right to keep number 4 locked in for themselves. There's no reason why they can't. They're already doing it at the moment. If the Sharks can find their way, I think maybe the Dolphins will be 5th or 6th or something like that if things go down. But they do have a good side and they do play really good when they're on. So I'm a fan. I think providing a good run through the finals and some favourable matchups, I think they could actually do pretty well. But I just don't know how much longer for the next few years, depending on who replaces Bennett. Do you know if they've replaced him at all? Like, is there a coach?
Yeah, Christian Wolf.
Right.
Christian Wolf is there. He's already been there the last couple of years as well. So, he's learned the way of the world. Apparently, he's a very good coach as well. So,
that's good. Like he's been around the system. So yeah, man.
He was the coach for Tonga when they went on that run and stuff. So he's got a good background. I think it was St. Helens as well. And he's been there for quite some time. He's a very well respected coach.
He was the Samoa coach, wasn't he? For when they did that big run. Not Tonga. He was the Tonga coach, wasn't he?
That was Matt Parrish. Yeah, Tonga. Yep.
Tonga. Sorry, so I meant to say and they did that big run.
Yeah. So you know what? future looks bright, I suppose, for the Dolphins. So
Change that.
that's it, man. Just things you know. But
They got some good, like they got good depth. That's what I've been
They
really
do.
impressed with them this year. Is their depth is actually very underrated. They've got some good players there, and they've got a very good nursery coming through. Like that growth, that nursery is just getting bigger and bigger. And being up here and seeing it, I know the Broncos are worried about the Dolphins because of that reason, because they had the pick of the bunch. Now they don't. Now the Dolphins are right in there and actually probably in the better area when it comes to talent than the Broncos. And the Broncos are worried about that because they can't go down much because the Titans are there. They can't go up now because the Finns are there. The Broncos are sort of in this secluded sort of area, and they'll always be there, the Bronx. But the Finns, for mine, I don't know if they can win the comp, but what I won't do here is underestimate the power that Wayne Bennett has. And we've seen him with the worst Queensland team of all time and what they were able to achieve. I just can't write them off. I'm going to respect the Finns and what they can do and just say, if we're sitting here at the end of grand final and we're doing our review show of the season and we're saying Finns have won the comp, honestly, it would not surprise me one bit this year because of the fact of what can happen, the stories behind it, the Wayne Bennett power. It just would not surprise me one bit. So, and they've got some very underrated players. Like someone mentioned before, Max Plath has been sensational this year. He's kept that side together so well. He's a bit of an underrated and attacking spark as well for him. He just gets through his work. Herbie's starting to find his feet after sort of starting a bit slow. Same with Avarillo. Nicarima, without Nicarima on the weekend, I don't think they win that game. I think they probably would have lost that, the Sharks, because he was very, very good. He's doing a lot. And Katoa. Katoa, for mine, has probably been one of the best playmakers in the competition this year, and he's 20 years old.
Yeah,
he's only going
massive.
up like that. If I was the Finns, I'd be re-signing him for another 10 years. I'd be onto that straight away. But guys, that's all we've got to talk about tonight. I thank everyone for being on it. We spoke about the Blues. Parramatta, we ranted about the Bronx, the Finns, spoke about teams that we like. Yeah, we'll try and the Gladiator down. Souths are on the hop again. But thanks, boys. Thanks for jumping on. Jake, hopefully we see you again on League of Inches. If not, we'll see him on the Talking Parrot podcast. I might have to make Jake an offer off air and see if he takes it and just become a member of LOI as well, League of Inches. So thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe on Facebook. If you're listening on the podcast, hit the bell icon and stuff. And thank you for your support. We will catch you during the week. Make sure you support the boys this week. I'll be away, but yeah, keep supporting. I'll be in the background. Hopefully I'll be in the comment section as well. So good night, guys. Thank you.
No,